In number 5 of the basic skills test, we have a decimal subtraction problem, and it's intended to be set up this way with all these zeros on top because it's really supposed to be a mental math problem. Now, most students will see this problem and they'll begin to start trying to borrow from. This is the way that they'll do it. They'll borrow from that and then not quite know what to do here because we're trying to borrow all the way over to here. So this one becomes a 9 and this one becomes a 9 because we borrowed from there, and this one becomes a 10. And so you get a really messy problem, all this borrowing. Now I can do it this way. 10 minus 2 is 8, 9 minus 4 is 5. Make sure I bring the decimal point down, which oftentimes is not done. And then 9 minus 8 is 1. 1.58 is the correct answer. But again, this is a type of problem that was really intended to get students to think about numbers and not just follow this method, which often leads to mistakes. I've corrected many of these tests where students misrepresent or misdo this, don't get all these 9s in here. And so rather than doing this that way, I would rather think about this problem as 8.42 and then how much more do I need to get to 10. So if I were, because when you subtract, it's the difference between these two numbers. So how far away is 8.42 from 10? Well, it's less than 2 away, because if you think about 8.42, it's almost 8.5. And to get from 8.5 to 10 is less than 2. In fact, it's a little more than 1.5. In fact, if you just think about this, it's 1, and then the rest of this, 42 to 100, the difference between 42 and 100 is 58. So really, I could have done that problem without doing any of that by just thinking about the number and where it is. If I count up from 0.42 up to 9, it's 0.58, and then one more brings me to 10. So again, that's just a mental math problem, a way to think through that problem and understand the difference or the distance. If I run a number line, literally, if I could think of this as a number line, and then there's the number 10, and there's the number 9, and there's the number 8, and the 8.42 is about there, then the distance or difference from here to there is the 1, and then the difference in here, which is 0.58. So again, the idea is, where is this number and how far is it to get there? That's what difference or subtraction is. So that's another way to think about this problem, is if I'm here to there, what's the difference? What's the distance? And that's what I'm finding in this particular problem. So that's another mental way to approach this problem, as opposed to just simply trying to do all the borrowing and doing those kinds of things, which often lead to mistakes in simple problems that students should get right, but often miss because of all of this messiness in the problem. So that's another way to think about this type of problem.